continue. Okay. So, hello and welcome. I'm Paul Ganega, for those of you who don't know, and I'm editor of 3 Mile Harbor Press. And my voice comes and goes, and it's going, so be patient with me, okay? Anyway, we're here to launch a powerful book of poetry, and winner of the 2020 3 Mile Harbor Press Poetry Award, Nathaniel Bek's Atrophy of the Boy Who Became a Wishing Well. And this is Emily Hughes's wonderful poetry cover design too. So, Atrophy of the Boy Who Became a Wishing Well. Isn't that a fabulous title? Really, really. And it's just one of many. There are no footsteps in the deep end. When a face is too much to wear. I drink milk because it is whole. I could go on and on. But let me just give a very quick introduction. Nathaniel is a writer, activist, and artist, living in Orlando, but originally from rural Wisconsin. And it's that landscape, the landscape of his growing up, that plays heavily in this collection of poetry. Not as some pastoral ideal, but as a dark territory haunted by violence, toxic masculinity, and tragedy. So this is a poetry of struggle and survival, and ultimately of triumph. But I really, let me let the poems speak for themselves. So without further ado, it's really my pleasure and honor to introduce Nathaniel Bek.
If you'd like, you can unmute.
Thank you so much, Paul. I honestly, I don't know how I can follow up that introduction any better than that. I honestly thought that I would have some meaningful words that would follow that, and honestly, they were beyond powerful and moving. And personally, for the last, like, I would say a couple of days and weeks, my life personally, outside of all of this and outside of the writing, has been really troublesome. And to hear something like that is just deeply special for me. So thank you so much for that. You are definitely correct. The book of poetry deals directly with my upbringing, and also my understanding or growth through the rural landscape of Wisconsin, and what it means to become a man, or rather the struggle that is finding yourself through the different lenses that define it, and maybe not necessarily ending up at the original place that you had set out as, but still finding a home in yourself nonetheless. If you will all join me, I hope to take you through one of the I guess, central story arcs, or at least as best as I can this evening through the book by sharing some of these poems. And so I hope that you all enjoy them. If you have questions or want to add anything or comment anything or ask anything of me, definitely let me know. I know that we have some time at the end to definitely do so, but even before that, if you would like. And I apologize if I'm long-winded or seem strange to all of this. Talking into a computer is just not really a specialty of mine, so I apologize in advance. I'm going to start off with the poem that starts the book and ultimately is one of the most meaningful to me. Ultimately, I would like to thank Pamela for also selecting this poem, as well as 5 others to be a part of Narrative Northeast. Honestly, I'm so grateful to that, and that you found things that were worthwhile and worth sharing out of this. But this is Storch, which means stubborn in German. My art teacher once said, "The clay is as it was born." And I think of my mother. Her spine cradled me into this. I accepted welcoming like a common burdock, face full of straw burrs. I was born sunny side up, hard against the back. To this day, she has never broken the silence of how she has labored me. And I am as the seed is to earth, a restless palm reaching for the air, a broken shell of a good living, a stubborn massing of roots, or that of my mother's will, a happening anthology of chances that finally stayed. My mother tells me of a sister never born, and I am born again, a bundle of lashes, hair, and smiles, 24 hours of unrest wrapping a father's finger. I was unbending enough to arrive, here like an unfurled bow, a present that has been asked for again, but what open lung has not asked for the same? Is this what keeps me, or am I too afraid to return to everything I have ever called home? Leaving and returning can sound the same. I too am the clay as it was born, a thing of the earth too estranged to stay here. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Sandy. Should I continue, or I apologize. Okay, wonderful. This poem, Testimony of the Sun, really talks about growing up and not really knowing what life is yet, and the struggles and tragedies that come with that, and the carelessness of growing up and of becoming. And I'm gonna just let the poem speak for itself. In the summer of '98, we ravaged the apple trees for all they had, broke the skin red and juice of our mouth full, sour, crushed and rotten stems hard as wood. We stumbled down Midway Avenue, scuffing up our knees more than our shoes, made a blood pact in more ways than one, juggled firecrackers till our hands burned and our lungs caught enough smoke we named it nicotine. For 6 days, we stayed up all night, devoured enough of the dark we claimed we were vampires, lived in the basement and became the same monsters that called us into the cobwebs. Once, when the lights flickered and we told ghost stories about our childhood, we licked our lips, cleaning bones from the soil. I still don't remember where we placed the daggers we dug up from the backyard. I just remember everything we replaced them with came from our bodies, and how we said we shouldn't be here, alive, living like we owned all the breaths we took, chasing the deer through the trees and rusting our hinges on dreams. We thought we were everything invincible, steel and stones and everything our ancestors left behind. We were wrong. We were just children who hadn't learned how to bleed yet, calling ashes snowflakes in the summertime. Thank you.
It's a lovely poem.
Thank you so much. Can I also thank Paul for putting this Zoom meeting together, and honestly just being a great friend and just wonderful human being. You've like welcomed me into this community like with open arms, and I can't thank you enough. Seriously.
I want to second that. Thank you, Paul.
I mean, Nate's a great guy and a great poet and human being, so it's not hard at all.
Thank you. This is titled "The Boy, the Blade, the Word." Back when the world was still as young as I was, and the clouds still spoke in riddles, we'd lay in the grass, feeling the wind cut comfort into our skin. Go down to the creek and watch as tadpoles became frogs, became legs, raw meat for the sharp things that hunger in the bush. Back when we were still boys, pretending to be children, and manhood hadn't snuck up under our beds like a closed fist after a hard day's work, we were still able to make anything with our hands, catch butterflies fluttering, chase dandelions in the wind, back before the storms came and claimed us numbered, made arcs of our bodies for our feelings to weather the storm. 'Cause man don't break tears in silence, does he? Like skin, like man, bottle them up like burning fireflies. There is no night here to be afraid of, because what hasn't fear already taught you, boy? No need for dandelions to wish on, just be a man, a sharp thing of meat that cuts the comfort out of you, out of your skin, till you are no longer a tadpole, a boy, a thing that still speaks in riddles when the world was still young. The boy, the blade, the word, the stone that named them sharp, the fist, all the tools in the shed a purpose, or the shard of the old hammer that had rusted and splintered from so much work, stuck so deep his hands amputated all the speech and the boy was left speechless. Remove the meat and let the blood, the words and all from the body, the tender, the tender, the tender steak beat and raw, eat the tendons and watch the fill, all the connected tissue, the man, the boy, the stone, the fist, the blade, the sharp they named of all this flesh, and the flesh of all this made sharp. They named it man. Thank you. This poem, when I was going through the titles of the poem or of the actual book, this title obviously takes on a different meaning in the title, because I wanted everything to be of overcoming, and this really speaks not just to the rural upbringing and what it's like to I guess like learn from the like being a farmer's son is something where you carry with it a certain amount of strength and dedication, and there's a certain lineage thing that is just passed down through working the soil, the farm, the animals, everything that comes with it. And this is titled Well Water. And there's no real way to really explain it except for trying to forgive, but also the uncertainty that comes with trust, and where that lies as things grow and you become to understand things differently, and people change and try to change themselves, but you're not entirely sure where you end up. The faucet always smelled of garden rake, pulling through our taste buds like mud. The barn door always said things like, "You fucking get back in here." And I think it was the winter shivering hinges that still makes it tough to open up sometimes. Some things get stuck closed for a reason. The shovel always dug the ground wrong, set the earth crooked like a cattail in the fall, and the tool shed always held my hands with a hammer like, "You're going to fucking sit here till you fix it." But a child's understanding is a hard thing to nail down. Calluses and burns make a tough skin, and so did you. The paint always chipped after a good season, shed the snow and everything with it, but we coated the wood to hide the rot. I'm sorry. Words can be a tree root to a concrete wall, the way sickness can be of blood and bank accounts. The day we lost everything, I met you, shook hands with the earth and laid a promise beside the pear trees. Apologies are not always said, but act out just the same. We are all just well water, here to return here again. And I wish for the storm that finally takes this house. And I speak into the wood and ask it for forgiveness. I let you in, but what hello has not stirred this before? Thank you. I do want to commend Pamela for honestly coming up with the most amazing cover art that anyone could have ever asked for. It's simply beautiful, and it speaks to everything that I wanted this book to be, and I can't thank you enough for this, seriously. And on that same note, Paul, your trusting hand and reassurance in allowing me to grow with you all, to experience this and to bring this collection into the world. And I just can't thank you both enough, honestly, for everything that you guys have done for the design and everything. It's honestly like a dream come true. So thank you so much. If it's all right with you guys, can I do a poem that is just one of my favorites that I just think speaks differently to this next poem that I'm going to read, but kind of carries with it a sentiment that is a little bit different. This is one that is one of my favorites to perform back in Orlando. So for all of my Orlando friends and pseudo family that is in here joining us, you'll probably know this or recognize this poem. In Wisconsin, it is told as tradition. Tales of boys turned men, rites of passage unsettling the trees. There are stories written in the snow here that will last well after it is melted. We are all the silent roosters of wilderness, cracking the morning sun like an egg, perched on the edge of hunting, the shadowless stalkers of nature. I don't think you ever forget the first time you reached the summit of an ecosystem, preying on the forest like you are your own natural disaster. I remember the first time I held a gun, like excitement had a weight to it, like power had a weight to it, like fear had a weight to it. I know the hesitation that rests at the edge of a trigger. There is a bull behind this fence. There is no room for fear, no toddler toys and blankets, just the deer and the silence. It's time to be a man now, so saddle up and take the shot. You are the one in power. Things are much easier to process when at a distance, but there is no poetic way to say you killed something. There is no beauty in death, but maybe I just can't describe the way eyes look when there isn't life in them. Maybe I need to man up, get over it. It was just a deer. Guns are meant to kill things anyways, right? Just ask the assault rifles, the high capacity mags. Maybe this is the rite of passage we asked for. But we aren't talking about hunting anymore, are we? There is no venison here. When we've turned streetlights to trees, nightclubs to forests, classrooms to open fields, there is no poetic way to say Parkland happened. Las Vegas happened. Pulse happened. There is no poetic way to say weapons of war are legal, that we keep searching for manhood behind a gun, that killing is okay if the police do it. But they say it wasn't the gun. Say it was the security guard, the teacher, the pill bottles, society. They say hunting helps control the population of animals. But they never talk about what we should do when we become the deer. Thank you.
Gotta applaud that one. Sorry, I have to.
Thank you. I just wanted to share that. It's something that like obviously didn't fit with this, but now I'm going to talk about a different concept of if we were deer. And this is called roadkill and other myths. Some days when I look at myself, I am a deer in headlights. But what do you do when you start to resemble the car? A deer is not a vehicle, but don't they hit the same? Head on and reckless. My face resembling a 30-year-old car, I have seen this body of a rusting heap before, barreling down on my childhood. I called it anger. I called it burning wreck. I called the car, man, I am not this car, this aggression, this metal body for breaking. I am the deer. But once you have been hurt by a weapon, you are afraid to become one. You will often see yourself reflected in their metallic. Replace your name with fear until your face resembles it. Adolescence can look like survival when mating season is a 4-year residency and growing up. Mark your territory like a rub is the only way to write your name. Kiss the gravel with your teeth enough, and you will forget what your own mouth is supposed to taste like. When I was a fawn, I ground the velvet off my antlers enough times to know masculinity was a weapon. I said it like windshield and wrote it down like destruction on anywhere it would land, even when it was me. And didn't you know, boys can become bucks if you make them? So call me young buck of a man, accident in the forest, call me an accident. When you learn its definition like me, you walk into everything like it's a fight. Like this hasn't been a hunt you have been outrunning since birth. Like you don't have to look both ways before crossing the street. Call this kind of trust another word for pain. When you learn to move your mouth through the vibrations of a car, how do you begin to speak when you start to make the same rumbling sounds? I wish I knew masculinity through a different voice like, can ambition be more than anger if you make your family sound like wilderness? Can you know sex without clothing yourself in pornography? Can you be a father if you never leave? Can you be more than violence, be more than abuse, be more than a weapon? Can you hold on to someone with antlers and never hurt them? Can you see the light on the road and not become the fear? Am I the deer or the car barreling down this road, even if I find myself on a different path, full throttle, heart and engine that hasn't quit yet, with this loose muffler smile that hangs and scrapes sometimes, this flat tire speech that keeps speaking even when the rubber has worn off? It will sound like, It will sound like, I am not the car. I gotta keep running. I am not the car. I gotta outrun this. I am not the car.
Hmm.
Thank you. All right. This next poem is less about masculinity and more about family. It redefines for me what family may mean and is something that I've had to grow and redevelop and continue to alter and change. This also speaks to my relationship. My girlfriend is Black, and with that, there comes struggles that are unexpected, certain histories and pain that I think both sides have trouble dealing with. And it's something that is a constant battle that even today I'm fighting with and fighting for that love that is not just between ourselves, but for existing and being and who we are. And so this is titled Gingerbread. Crack the shell and feed the yolk to the mixing. Find a soft thing and keep the young. Blood is not a batter, but it likes to get into things. Molasses will stick and you will know your fingers dirty. Vanilla is a sweet thing to keep in the cupboard. Hide the good till they are ready. Knead the skin and the pain of history. Make a good dough of this. Hold the bowl and all that comes with it. Some will not like the taste. Find the spices between a loose jaw and a hard smile. Family does not always make a table of the warm. Know the brown, the burnt, the parts most will fear of the oven. Show them the flavor of a cooked thing. Even if they will not eat, chew through the hard. Lose a tooth to the process. Lose more if the recipe asks it. You may find alone in this. Know that not all ginger and cinnamon taste the same. Thank you. I apologize. The tabs get confusing when they're all over the book. You all have been so wonderful. I honestly like this is just something completely special, and I can't thank you all enough for taking the time out of your day to hear me just share words that I put down on paper. You know, it's something truly magical, and I honestly don't have words for it. I think it'll probably take me a long time to probably process everything and and do that. So, but what you'll definitely want to do is go to 3 Mile Harbor Press and pick yourself up a copy of this wonderful book if you haven't already. I again can't thank you guys enough for this and this opportunity and seeing something in my words that honestly I didn't even see in myself for a long time. So thank you. I just have a few more, so I hope you all don't mind.
Oh, no.
This one was also part of the poems that got picked up by Narrative Northeast. It's The Night Barks Back. Snip the snarl, leaving the claws where they tremble. There is no room for rumble and gnashing. Let the wild run out of you like a loose tongue. Smile and breathe deep with your bones like the body hasn't experienced this attention before. Anxious is the power that calls the wicked out of you. Leave the blood on the canines this time. Do not fear the sound of your own voice, face found in the oven of this heat. Speak with your teeth and let your fur stand for you. Even when you are tired, let the meal leave you hungry. Don't give in to this and all that rests behind the door. Leave it and let it be what it's always been, unknown. But try not to chase the footsteps that haunt the night. Try not to feel the rippling tide of muscle that calls your senses to lament. This can be an open window with a good breeze. If you lean into the glass and let your eyes chase the things that escape in the trees. Thank you. So as I mentioned, and this is a little tidbit for all of you. My dad, he had a heart attack literally the day after Christmas. So that was kind of intense. And there was a poem in this book that started off talking about one thing and exploring one portion, and through the editing process with this also occurring all at the same time, re-exploring it became a difficult experience, but also one that I feel was necessary and allowed me to reopen and explore this in a different way. And I feel like it became what it was always meant to, almost like as if when I was writing it, it wasn't finished yet because these events hadn't happened yet. So this is the thesis on the feeling of wings. When mom told me you had cancer, I laughed or joked or let out a still frame of my life that keeps ringing. I'm not sure reality ever caught my lungs, wrestled understanding back down inside of me, or if I have been chasing yesterday all these years. The day they cut you open like your brother, I still thought you could fight it off. I guess I am still learning that being a man doesn't always look like fighting, but sometimes it does. Sometimes removing a part of yourself can look like a balled up fist. Or maybe that is all I remember of my hands that day. It was the year I returned to the snow, and all the Christmas gifts were made of curses. It was the year your heart fluttered till it didn't. The year I broke the silence of birthday wishes and asked you, just try. I can see how recovery sounds a lot more difficult being brought back to a body that has already rejected you. But who else will play the role of my father? Fighting isn't always done with fists. Sometimes the fight has to be done for you. I have given you all the secrets I have known of trying. Most mornings now, I wake up with feathers caught in my hair from learning to love the sun, or how to carry all this. I still wonder if we could have arrived here otherwise. When we talk now, I see yesterday as it is today, healthy. Maybe this is what the bird feels learning to fly. I remember watching you and thinking anything was possible. Now I know it is. Going off of that same sentiment, that ending portion there talks a lot about my own struggles with wanting to fight to survive and wanting to keep living, and how those struggles oftentimes you end up being your own worst enemy, and how pushing forward sometimes can't or isn't always healthy, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it's important to remember that today is just today, and tomorrow is, you know, a whole new bundle of chances. And this is titled Icarus's Great Hello. We all speak to the night differently, making conversations with our shadows. We all want to be important enough to be remembered in the morning, to wake up inside ourselves, trap our names with our mouths. Some days we must make a rainbow out of anything, make a tornado look easy enough to wear. Some days we must speak of secrets, the ones that we keep with the ground, that feather the spine. Some days we must ask our teeth to rattle louder than the windows. We all have a plastic bottle, aluminum can, a shaking hello that we ask to leave us. We have all made wings of our limbs, broke bones with feathers and air. We are a heavy thing, a flightless bound that has made a thick wound of trying, but we survive. Into the night, we survive. All right. So we are nearing the last two poems that I have for you all. I hope that's all right. Am I doing all right with time?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep,
wonderful.
Yep.
So going off of survival and off of my own needs to learn how to be a man without these toxic traits that are passed down to us, and learn through our environments and through our you know, the whole nature versus nurture, and whether or not these are just ingrained in us, and that constant fight of trying to fight against things that are taught to us, or that, you know, we're expected to be. And one of the things that was, I guess, most interesting was my girlfriend deals with fibromyalgia. And so not only did I have to learn how to not be a physical being as a man, just by tailoring my aggression and the learned experiences of all of this physicality that comes with everything that we're taught and expected to be, but learning to love someone through nothing at all, because pain is something that is very direct to her, and so survival is very direct to her, and so this is titled Needles. She is the morning before the sun, half awake and full of eyes. She has never birthed a full night's rest, just toiled tomorrow into existence, held hands with the moon till the moon got tired. She knows the night like an old shirt, wears it like a loose fitting. She has never asked for this troubled power itch of thought. She makes a holy burial of dreams. We all wish we could see the things that talk to us at midnight, and she has. Strength is no more a physical act, as it is a battle with the senses. She spins the earth with her smile. The world has made nails of the soil, and she has learned to make a dance floor of pain. Off of that same note, this is titled Asphyxiation of Pain. You make a quest of your bones. Lay the sleep beside you. Have you given the word to the rocks? Lap the blood up with your having. Beauty has stolen the best from us. You are a dizzying mess of smiles, an inkwell the night has written with hands, feet, tortured limbs that sway in the heat. We are a careless bunch of anxious. A storm of shadows draped over a facade. I have learned to love your pain. Make a hug of soft welcoming. Let the skin drown you in conversation or leave you at peace as the sun does. We have made a treaty of our lips to make love through much less than our bodies can offer. I hold each word that breaks the rules. We have made hard candy of this. We have tethered our blood to the earth, made a church of this good worship, held hands with the silence of hours and hours alone. There is a night to remember here, a night to build of the couches and beds. I feel lungs in the darkness, the hot air grasping our insides. We can make anything of the shadows. I will hold you, make weight of light and sound, make anything of this. We can asphyxiate our wanting, like love is still a selfless tradition. Thank you. To close it out.
Wow.
Oh, thank you. To close it out, this is an ode to me and to all others who have struggled with growing up trying to find themselves in their manhood while also not relating to what they're told they should be or what they shouldn't be. And so this is me overcoming myself and everything that I have been and will be. Ode to the man I am today. If I shave, the razor will be sharp enough to cut the past from my body this time. Make a clean face of all my bad decisions till I can look at myself in the mirror again. I have learned to make tattoos of my scars, an art piece for the truth that is overcoming. There are so many impossibilities to make possible if you breathe them in, if you exhale expectations till your body remembers promise. There is no road to follow here, just dirty hands, feet, and a lot of blood I left behind. I've learned to love painting the ground with my failures again. Learned to let my heart speak for when my throat is full of ears. It is so easy to say the things you want to hear, but harder to live out the ones you don't. I have made a bed of forgiveness, even when I do not sleep in it. On the worst days, when the lights dim enough to make the night rest inside of me, I have learned that some birds sing at 3 a.m. The world can sound like an orchestra in autumn or just the falling of acorns. Silence is as beautiful as it needs to be, and I've learned to make my bed with a sheet set of insomnia. I no longer need to pull the blinds on my eyelids with bottle caps. These days, I rest with a heartbeat that is more restless than mine. I drank down love in a bar and have been hung over heels for her ever since. I have learned to make things with my hands again, even when I am afraid they will be too fragile to hold on to. I have learned to be fragile. Patience is something I still wait on for occasion, but some things are just not worth waiting for. Sometimes the sky cracks the clouds open long enough to think the weather mastered perfection. Other times it is just her smile. Luck is not something I would gamble on, but I would make a full house out of this. With nothing to lose but everything, I can only be all that is made me. 2 tired hands and a dream for something more. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Seriously, I can't thank you all enough for your time and love, and I'm so full right now. Thank you.
It's too bad you didn't get to read some of the wonderful comments people were leaving.
I'm not sure if they
them.
stay, but I will definitely be reading through all of that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So the beautiful thing you could do is there's the 3 dots next to the comment section, and you can save it. You can, right click, save chat, and then boom, you have it
Where
forever.
is that? Oh, there it is.
Save
Save
chat.
chat. There we go.
All right. So now at this junction, we can ask everybody in the audience if they would like to rally up their questions, unless Nathaniel has anything he wants to say before heading into the Q&A.
You want us to type up the questions on the chat, Paul?
Yeah, they can type up questions if they want. You can just raise your hand using the Zoom function, or just literally raise your hand and you can unmute. It's totally up to you all.
I'd just like to ask Nathaniel about his writing process. So when you generate a poem, do you find yourself using stream of consciousness writing? What is your process like, and how do you generate a poem?
There's a multitude of different ways that I go about it. Ultimately, I would say the ones that that I would say become I would say that to create like the bank of ideas that I come up with is stream of consciousness, but ultimately a lot of my poems, I start with a centralized theme or idea that then I create banks of words and memories. So I will write out like a narrative or a story that that comes from that, and then I basically start just mentally cutting up those pieces and formulating it into the centralized like I try to create as close to a memory as I can, or the feeling of a memory as I can, because for me that is like the most vivid and true of that experience. But it comes from a direct point at which I have like a central idea, or I guess there's a central theme or narrative that I'm trying to get across, and from that I pull from different actual like stories that I write out, kind of almost like their own I apologize. I'm so much better when I just like put everything down on paper and then can like pick and choose. I'm very particular about the way that
I think
that
you
I
expressed
speak.
yourself
So
very well.
but I hope that kind of answers your question. With there's a multitude of different ways that I go about it, but it's a twofold process of not just having kind of like with the hunting poem that I did. I wanted to start from a place that was directly tied to my experiences with gun violence and with my direct experiences of going hunting and growing up in gun culture in central Wisconsin, so or northeastern Wisconsin. So from that, I took those two ideas and then brought together the formulation of the words that would make up the poem through those narrative events. So
Thank you. Very good answer.
I don't really have a question, but I did want to say that I knew the poems on the page, but your delivery was absolutely fantastic. I mean, really wonderful reading. Really, really wonderful reading.
thank
Really
you so
moving,
much.
really moving.
Nathaniel, I loved your reading. This is Olga. Loved your delivery, loved your reading. Often, you have a CD or an album. Oh, you like one song or two or three. Loved every single poem. And I feel like you took me on a journey through your heart, your mind, your soul, your family, your history, a little part of it, but for me, it was huge, huge. You painted such a story of your life, your family, your loves, your struggles. You're absolutely stunning. I'm not on audio or video. I was cleaning my garage about 2 minutes before your reading, uncovered in dust, head to toe, and I have cobwebs like Miss Haversham, but stunning, stunning, stunning reading. Very emotional, and I'm going to go cry now, and I have to leave. But thank you.
Thank you so much. Seriously, that means the world to me. I honestly, I can't thank you enough for that. And don't be bothered with having a little work on you. That's part of life. So
Thank you very much. And Paul and Jim, goodbye, and goodbye, everybody.
Bye, Olga.
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I had a question if nobody else is going to jump in. I just want to echo the sentiments. Your performance was like stellar, and your curating of poems feel like you really took us on a journey. I know they're not exactly how they are in the book, but you curated that performance like phenomenally. So my question is kind of on your motifs, because you have a lot of recurring motifs in your book. And I was wondering, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Because you had eggs, birds, blades of all kinds, weapon. You had a lot of very, very recurring images, deer. So for you, is it that you wrote and then these were kind of symbols that all just kept coming back, or did you come into this with, okay, this is the vision for the book and these are things that are going to recur? Like, what came first for you?
I would love to say that that it is one or the other, but I would say that it is a combination of the two, because while there are specific things that keep recurring, and that I did make very deliberate choices to, okay, I want this to be a theme that also relates back to itself. So there are several points in various poems that, like you mentioned, the deer, or various things that, when you're looking at the poem from the perspective of, okay, like, what does the deer actually mean to me, or to the reader, and then what does it mean as it carries its journey, like, into other poems and other things that you're maybe searching for, like, and things that you maybe feel like you have not yet become, or that you already are, and you're trying to remove yourself as. So there are definitely repeating themes that are, I would say, intentional, but also with it taking a centralized focus on where I grew up, and the things that I come from. It has a limiting palette, like, or there's very, like, specific things that create a emotive response, or a direct, like, visual or memory from it. So it's also partly that. So I wanted it to be something that feels like a lived experience, or a place that you can visit visually inside of your mind. So with that, there's going to be familiarity, and there's going to be things that recur and continue to exist throughout it.
But I commend you, man, because it feels like a beautiful self-encapsulated universe that you've created. I think we're going to move to Tamara has a question. So I'll ask Tamara to unmute.
Hi, it's Tamara. It's the old school pronunciation.
Sorry, Tamara.
There's no way you would know that anyway. I just wanted to say, actually, in relation to the comment and the question that you just asked, Paul, it's really, really striking that, Nate, that you as a young man, right, and a young man in Orlando or in the city, let's say as a city boy now, right? It's interesting that you have this book of poems that is so rural and has this agricultural setting. And I think it's actually critically important. And this might be something that you guys want to look at in terms of how you move forward to market the book, because it's from what I've seen, it's like most young people, their entire world revolves around the city, or what we consider the city to be, or something that's New York like, or urban like, or something that has all of this, what's the word I want to say, superficial and materialistic blingage, right?
Huh.
And here you are, this city cat that is writing about knives and gutting deer and all of this kind of stuff. However, you are still taking us through that journey of father and son becoming his own man on his own terms, right? Which is
Mhm.
what all fathers and sons go through, whether they grow up straight out of the hood or whether they grow up on the farm. And I think that that's really interesting, because using that kind of setting, you ground us in a different way, and it strips away, like I said, a lot of the blingage that becomes a distraction. And that might be something, that you want to, I can't think of the word really, but maybe just think about more in terms of how you want to move forward and discuss the book, because I think that there are so many people that are just completely detached from nature. But there's a new movement for younger people to reconnect with urban gardening and things like that. And I just think that that's really interesting.
Thank you so much, Tamara. Also, thank you for the most beautiful blurb on the back of the book, and for taking the time out to join me this evening, and through the journey of back when you knew me as just a host of a literary event in Orlando, and now here, where we're both sharing books and ideas and things about writing. And I to kind of piggyback off of your sentiment, I did want there to be like a folktale-ish nature to a lot of it, where like just like how stories can continue to perpetuate themselves through history, regardless of the setting or the actual I guess nature of the characters. It still tells a direct truth that a lot of people can relate to, or can connect with. And I think that it's important that like through that, it kind of like brings us back into that kind of campfire sharing moments, or these stories or these experiences that are bigger than ourselves, that we can all relate to. So
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, really powerful, beautiful work. Yeah, really beautiful. Like I grew up in the country, so like I was, it was a different country growing up, but I was really there. When you were talking about the tools, and it was really what's the word, tactile. It was, I could really feel, you brought us home. You brought us home. So thank you so much for that. And I really, really look forward to reading this book.
thank you so much. That means a lot. Especially the comment about bringing us home. That means a lot to me, seriously. As it is something that like I grapple with like a lot, as what does home mean to someone and to ourselves. So thank you.
I was also really moved by the search itself. Your searching and your honesty. I felt that these were really that it was really important to you to find in the course of the writing a greater understanding of yourself and the wish to communicate it in a very eloquent way, which you've done.
Thank you so much. That's really what I hope for everyone that is taking this in and experiencing this, that that it does reflect that, because that was one of my most central wants or desires for this, was that directly to be as honest as I can, while also leaving space for the reader themselves to put themselves into it and take away various portions. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? I kind of had a question about the hunting poem that linked to all of these modern massacres. Do you have that recorded anywhere?
I believe because I performed that in at IWIPS or the Individual World Poetry Slam. So it is on my Instagram. But I can definitely look to see if I have like another recording of it somewhere.
No, yeah.
So.
I was gonna say, because that poem, like how Button Poetry puts stuff out, right? Or like Juan or that poem deserves to go viral. It's because it's really potent. It's a really potent piece, especially the way that you bring it to life. So just as a spoken word poet, that poem really fucked me up. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. What going off of that, so as you're well aware, WAN poetry, or right about now, I'm sure you're familiar with. So Joy, my beautiful co-host over here in the room that you guys can't see but is watching from off to the side, her and I were on the Breaking Bad Poetry Slam team, and we went to Chicago, which is where she's from, and it was like coming home for me as well, being set in the Midwest as well. And they right about now does a cipher at these national poetry events, where we went, and that was the poem that I did there. But because of a lot of other things that that were happening at the time, I think a lot of those things and the differences that were happening in Chicago at that time, specifically, I'm not going to get into, I guess, the intricacies of it, but I think it just didn't end up coming to light. You know, it got buried in a lot of that stuff, but it was still a beautiful experience, and so yeah. But thank you. It's one of my favorite to perform. So.
This is where we would be having wine and cheese, but oh well. Chatting, drinking.
My better half and I will probably partake in some of that afterwards to celebrate.
I mean, you guys can pour some right now if you wanted to in the room. And you know, if there are no more questions, I can let you or Paul say some closing words. I just posted the link to the book again in the chat in case anybody doesn't have a copy of it and would like to purchase this marvelous collection of work. But yeah, I mean, like
I can answer the Instagram. Instagram is NCBEK, so NC Bek, or my initials rather, poetry. So it's _poetry. If you put in NCBEK though, I'm pretty sure it comes up anyways. So, but yeah, NC Bek poetry.
Awesome.
And I've also I randomly post random first drafts of poems and stuff like that people can I guess peruse through or whatever. Don't be too critical though, because again, they're just
Too critical.
But that's, I mean, that's the best place for it, right? I mean, like you're testing stuff out. It's like when you're touring, as a comedian and you just have like off the cuff, you're just riffing,
yeah, exactly.
Material
It's
land.
oftentimes as embarrassing as this may sound, but it's kind of like some people use newspaper or magazines, and some people write poetry on the toilet. So so
True, 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 true.
Well,
This
thank
was
you for
this was
great
phenomenal.
reading.
Yeah,
Well,
this has
Oh.
been one of my favorite Zoom centric events I've attended in a long time.
thank you so much. I can't thank you enough, and I honestly can't thank Paul and Pamela enough for this. Paul for I mean, obviously finding my voice in all of this, and feeling that it was necessary or worthwhile in hearing or sharing with the world. Honestly, I can't thank you enough. And Pamela, for everything that you did, from design to the cover art to selecting the art to putting everything together, the book, just everything in general, like, and also everything that you do with Narrative Northeast. I honestly can't thank you both enough. And Paul, like, for putting this Zoom meeting together. Seriously, I while this was special and will forever remain inside of me as one of the greatest like moments in my life. Honestly, I can't wait to put the technology behind us and finally meet you in real life, hopefully soon, and meet you all hopefully at a future time. But this has been exciting, challenging, and truly beautiful and memorable, just from the standpoint of the last year has been insanely difficult with not just COVID, but just everything. And so to kind of start this new year off in a different direction and a different light really speaks to overcoming everything that we've all collectively had to endure. So thank you all.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Right. So I think I'm going to stop the recording now, but if anybody wants to hang out, wants to, just pick Nate's brain a little bit more, you all are welcome to hang around for a few.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with answering any